Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Lion and Liverbird
We're
podcast. As you
champions.
can see,
We are champions. Forget the
yes.
intro. We're champions. We got to celebrate in front of the fans.
Yep.
Long time coming.
As as you can see, as Chelsea fan is wearing a red jersey. This is an England jersey, but this is to respect Liverpool's win. They are champions with 4 games to play, right, Adim?
Yeah.
They cruised pretty much right through the entire season, right? Arsenal were supposed to be contenders at some point. Chelsea was. But there's no question this is an undisputed championship run from Liverpool. There can be no doubts about their pedigree. And there are certain very interesting aspects about this particular championship that we'll discuss. But first, Adim, go ahead. What are your feelings as a fan? This is, the second, Premier League win that you're seeing. And I know, back in the day, you used to say that, maybe you'll never get to see Liverpool win the Premier League. So how does it feel?
It was amazing, especially we got to see the fans also be part of the celebration and all, which wasn't there the last time because of COVID. So you know how it was in school, right? So Liverpool were not what they are right now. I remember I was the butt of all jokes because you had Manchester United fans, you had Chelsea fans, and you had Arsenal fans, and they would all gang up and say, "What are you going to celebrate? Like you're not going to win the title." And we had some terrible seasons under Roy Hodgson. Uh, King Kenny came and tried to save us, but that didn't work out. So we were so near yet so far under Rafa Benitez. I think I remember there was, I think the 2009 season was it? Or maybe it was, yeah, it was nine, where we came second to Manchester United, and it felt like that was the closest we would ever get. You never thought that United would have such a drop off. You never thought that City would have such a meteoric rise. And in that vein of thought, I used to think that there's no chance Liverpool could win a Premier League title in my lifetime. This is something I've said to you and all my friends a lot of times. So winning two is incredible, and it just is a culmination of the hard work put in by the squad. It's basically almost like the same team we had back in 2019, except for that midfield and a couple of strikers. So interesting. It was great to see the team winning, and it was against Tottenham, right? So it was a foregone conclusion.
Spanking.
Yeah. So even when Dominic Solanke scored, you knew that it's just a matter
Yeah.
of time. It's a procession.
Yeah.
The atmosphere at Anfield, it was incredible. I think Virgil van Dijk, the captain, spoke before the game, and he said that he wants everyone to wear red. And I think 99% of the home crowd followed that because it was red everywhere. Even when the bus was entering the stadium, Anfield Road, it was just filled with flares and fans singing. So, and
It's good that
incredible.
you bring up the flares part. We'll probably
Oh
talk
yeah, yeah,
about
we talk
the
about that.
prank that
The
Everton
prank,
fans
yeah.
pulled on you
So
guys. Yeah.
it
But
just
yeah.
feels incredible. So like I've seen Chelsea win titles under Jose Mourinho, under Antonio Conte. I've seen Manchester City dominate for years before a Jurgen Klopp, and of course Manchester United. So it feels even greater because there was the chance that we'd never win that 19th title. Right now we have 20. We're tied with United with most uh, top flight league titles. So we're back on the perch, and in all probability, we will surpass United's record in the coming future because I don't think United are anywhere close to winning a title. Forget even maybe qualifying for Europe.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, yep. There's no question about the way things stand, right? So I think, let's get into it. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. And how we wanted to do this episode was, basically top 5 reasons or top 5 contributing factors to Liverpool's championship. So I think the number one that we both completely agree on unanimously is Mohamed Salah, right? So
Um,
Adeem, take it away.
so Mohamed Salah has been incredible this season. So he's got 28 goals and 18 assists in just 34 Premier League outings, which is an astonishing number. Obviously, it's not Lionel Messi numbers, but considering his age, considering the league that he's playing in and how physical it is, considering that there's a drop off after Ramzan, it's insane as to how he's basically catapulted us to the title. I mean, if our attack is nowhere near as good as it should be. And if you take Salah out, I don't think we'd win the title. Sure, the defense has become tighter against, thanks to Slot. Our midfield is a little better. There's better pressing and control of the game. But Salah is Salah. I mean, I don't know how much more can we speak about him to bring up how important he is to the side. And just to put things into context, in May 21st, 2024, Salah put up a photo on Twitter. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but he wrote that we know that trophies are what count, and we will do everything possible to make that happen next season. Our fans deserve it, and we will fight like hell. And there's this photo of him walking dejected with the fans all, showing up the flags and all. And I don't know. He was, I think, the only player after that letdown of a season under Klopp, right, where we were on top of the table and then we collapsed spectacularly. There were talks of us doing the quadruple. There was talks of us winning the UEFA Europa League, the one trophy that Klopp did not have at Liverpool, and it just fell apart. And it almost felt like this was like a watershed moment. Maybe Salah will leave, maybe some other players will leave, but they stuck around. And as I said, Salah was the only player who wrote this. Like he said that I want to win something for the fans, and I will do everything in my power to do it. Van Dijk didn't, Trent didn't, every other player didn't. I don't know. It's so insane that a player who isn't a scouser, who isn't Liverpool through and through, is actually more Liverpool than any other player that we might have seen since maybe Steven Gerrard. I just can't describe the joy you get from seeing Salah do what he does. And you saw that, like when he scored that goal, the fourth goal, he did his trademark celebration where he took a phone and he took a selfie, which is like something he did throughout the season. Every time after every match, he took a photo with the goal scorers of that game, and this time he took it with the fans. So everything that Salah did was gold. There's really nothing else I can say much about him. Like he's the
I
reason we're
think
winning the title.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a Scouser now, right? A adopted Scouser, but Scouser through and through. The fact that his contract situation got resolved right before this is the perfect fairy tale as well, right? A club legend. You're going to put up a statue outside of Anfield, and a Premier League legend, a certified Premier League legend, right? And it's interesting, Adim, that the fact that you brought up how critical Salah was to your attack, because I was just looking at the numbers, right? Salah, obviously, highest goal scorer this season, 28. Your next highest goal scorer is Luis Diaz, all the way down at only 12 goals, right?
Yeah.
And apart from these two, there's nobody else with double digits in goals, right? That's very interesting. And the assist side of things is even more stark. So Salah has 18 assists. The next highest assist in terms of Liverpool is Trent Alexander-Arnold, and that's all the way down at 6 assists only, right? So that's absolutely ridiculous numbers and dominating numbers even within the squad. So undeniably, the number one reason for you guys walking away with the Premier League title is Mo Salah, right? A true legend. And, as a Chelsea fan, it always, it's like a dagger to my heart every time he does well. And that seems like perpetual kind of, perpetual happening right now.
So just to put more things into context as to how great Salah is, he signed a 2-year deal, obviously. He's now in the top five scorers in Premier League history. The only players above him are Alan Shearer, Harry Kane, Wayne Rooney, and Andy Cole. In all probability, he will surpass Harry Kane by next season if he scores at this rate. So he'll have around 214 goals. Kane has 213. And I don't know if he still plays at this level. There is a very small probability he could surpass Alan Shearer, but that's 260 goals. So he needs to score like 25 goals for 3-4 seasons. But stranger things have happened. Now, on the assist side of things, right? Salah has become more of a creator this season, and he was also last season. He's already in the top 10 assists uh, in Premier League history. He's just below James Milner. And in all probability, he'll go into the top five of that as well. And I don't think there is any player who's actually in both. Yeah, no, in the top five of both. So it's just insane as to how he's able to reinvent himself. And just to round off this Salah bit and then segue into Arne Slot, this is what he said. Yeah, so they were talking about his performance and all, and this is what he said. And they were asking him how things are different under Slot because obviously shifting from Klopp to Slot is a different thing. So he told Slot, and I quote, "As long as you rest me defensively, I will provide offensively. Try to rest me as much as I could, and I will show you the numbers." And frankly speaking, the first half of the season, he was probably the best player in Europe or in the world, actually. There was no denying that. After that, there was a drop off after Ramzan, which happens quite a lot of times. But I see how things have worked and how Slot actually gave him that platform also. Because you'll see now, as we talk about the second reason for Liverpool winning the title is Arne Slot and his man management and his formation thinking, is that with the change in formation that we had. So we now had four people defending right at the top instead of having a 3-3 and then a four, like a 4-3-3, so 3-3-4. So now that actually reduced the amount of work that Salah had to do. And you could see that in the numbers because he was higher up the pitch more often than not. And he was able to do those passes and be in the right position to score. So I want your thoughts on Slot before I get into the deep end and explain how really he changed us and ensure that we win the title.
So before we go to Slot, right, just want to round out the discussion, and this is obviously going to be a little, I mean, debatable at least, not controversial. But Salah, I think he's the only person in the top 10 of goals and assists of in the Premier League, right? He's number 5 in goals and number 10 in assists, and he's pretty close to being like number 6 or number 5 in assists as well. So if he ends up being like the number 2 goal scorer and number 5 or number 4 assist, I don't think there's a question about the fact that he's like probably the all-time best, in the Premier League. So that there you go, Mo Salah, a true legend.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
let's
he
yeah
will be the GOAT because
yeah
he's now got two Premier League titles. I think Thierry Henry got two Premier League titles. So, and he's considered widely as the best Premier League player ever. So, Salah's got the titles, he's got the goals, he's got the assists. He is the GOAT. I think
yeah
there's
yeah.
no denying that.
I
And
think
yeah,
that objectively speaking, that's very true.
yeah, and yeah, let's talk about Slot because
Okay, let's talk about Slot, right? Because I think we did a pretty detailed episode at the beginning of the season, which seems like a lifetime ago, right? And we really went into details of why he's an amazing managerial appointee, and he's proven, everybody right, right? He's somebody who is modern in his approach. He's somebody who's practical. He's somebody who's honest, right? These are things that are very, very critical, right? Because we see so many coaches, they're either, inflexible, or they're, full of hubris, and they don't want to change their own ways. They get into fights with their players and so on and so forth. And you've seen none of this. All the while, his on-field achievements have been amazing, right? So I think Slot is, destined for greatness. I don't know how many managers have come into the Premier League from outside and won the Premier League in the first season. I think that might be a record in itself, right? And given, I think we've also belabored the point that you guys have spent $5 million on Chiesa, who has not had any impact at all. So basically, coming in from a different league, taking over a team, taking them to a championship with basically no new signings, right? I don't think it can, get any more simple and any more obvious how important Slot has been to your title run.
so regarding the managers coming in and winning the title in the first season, Chelsea has three managers on that list. You got Mourinho,
Oh.
obviously. Then you got Carlo Ancelotti, and you've got Conte. And the other manager to have done this is Manuel Pellegrini with Manchester City. But the difference is that each of those four managers had financial backing to change their side, to get players that they wanted. And that is another positive of Arne Slot. So we've spoken about this quite a few times that he's a coach. He isn't just a manager. He coaches players. He tries to get the best out of them or to understand what works best for them. And I think that's also partly reason why we didn't want to invest or change things up because I think he said this a few weeks back that he wanted to see how the players are and then make a decision later on. And we also need to understand that Jurgen Klopp had started rebuilding the side when he decided to leave. So that midfield was completely changed. We got new attackers in Gakpo, Nunes, and uh, Luis Diaz. And I think the only thing that didn't change much was our defense because we had Van Dijk, Konate, Joe Gomez. So that's another positive of Arne Slot is that he's done this without actually getting new players into the team, and he just tweaked the system. So now, as I was saying, we have four players who start defending right from the top. Our midfield has obviously another talking point in Gravenberch. We'll talk about that later. And our defense became more solidified. So that's just I don't know how to say, but this was like a proper coaching thing. So he found things that worked for us. He tweaked it. And I don't think there was any game in the season, barring I would say the first match against Chelsea, or the only time against Chelsea, where it felt like that we were under the cosh and we deserved to maybe not get something from that game or maybe even lose that game. Because I was seeing the highlights of the game yesterday, and Chelsea were really good in that first half. And in all probability, they could have scored a goal or two more and maybe had a couple of decisions go their way. But his game management, his squad management, and the other thing is how he didn't let things affect him. Salah was going to be out of a contract, and they did not sign a contract until a couple of weeks back. Van Dijk, possibly the best defender in the world, no contract signing January. You're expecting Real Madrid, PSG to come in, nothing. Trent's future is still, we're still unsure about what's happening to him. So with so many factors taking to place, I don't think anybody expected him to win the title. Also, I remember us discussing the thing, and I said that the best thing it could be was a top four finish and a cup. I think I don't think any pundit, apart from maybe one, said that Liverpool could be title favorites. So that just goes to show how under the radar we were. But it also shows the capability of Slot. And then we obviously now need to shift and talk about one of the stars of the season. Yeah, you want to say something?
Before we go there, Adeem, I was just thinking about it, right? What Schlott has done and what he's achieved this season is paradigm changing, right? Because if you look at all the top clubs and all the top managers they hire, the managers always come in with a huge laundry list of players that they want, right? They want to change the system. They want to get X, Y, Z, this striker, that winger, this. You can see what Amorim is trying to do at Man United, right? Spend so much money, completely transform the team and buy all new players, and still they're languishing at the bottom of the table, right? I think this is going to be the new kind of script that all new managers are going to be asked to follow, right? If Slot can do this, if Slot can spend $5 million, negligible amount, and take a team all the way to the Premier League, I think every other owner is going to demand more from their manager, and they're not just going to give in to some random frivolous demands of these managers, right? So I think what he's done is pretty paradigm changing in that sense. And with that, let's talk about some more of the more critical players in your midfield, Adeem. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the one thing that we were screaming for at the start of the season was, or at least two things, was a left back, because I've had my doubts on the left back position since last season, and then obviously that defensive midfielder, the number six, Martin Zubimendi. The deal seemed set to be done, and then he backed out because he wanted to stay in the mountains, eat paella, whatever. I'm trying not to sound racist and all, and to do stereotyping,
There's
but
nothing racist about eating paella. It's
yeah,
quite
no, it's
nice.
Spanish. So whatever. And then it just felt like a bit of a downer because that was something we needed. We needed that control in midfield. We tried that with McAllister last season, and he's not that kind of a player. He's a completely different kind of player, which we'll talk about that later. But then we decided to go with Ryan Gravenberch, who didn't really flourish in his first season at Liverpool under Klopp. And there were doubts about him taking up the role because he's not that player who plays the number six. He didn't do it at Ajax. He didn't get a lot of chances at Bayern Munich. But if you look at the numbers, and these are stats, right? So Ryan Gravenberch in the Premier League is first in interceptions. He's second in possessions won. He's second in possession won in the middle third. He's third in successful passes, and he's fourth in ball carry progress. So that just goes to show how Slot has unearthed, is that a word? Unearthed? I don't know.
It's close enough.
Close enough. Has found a gem. Let's put it that way. So so we knew that Gravenberch had potential because he's still very young. We knew that he has the ability to do well in midfield, but turning him into this kind of a player and basically ensuring that A, we use the players that we have and fix them into the system, and B, also we saved a ton of money. Now, had Subamendi come in, A, we wouldn't know how he does because Arsenal got Mikel Marino in and he's been hit or miss. And then B, we would have lost Gravenberch because we don't know what he would have done either. So Slot's really, really done. He's just 22, by the way.
Yeah.
So there's so much more that we can do with him. And I think he'll only become better in the coming seasons because I do believe we will get some cover for him. My biggest fear with Gravenberch has been this season is that in the second half of the campaign, he's trailed off a bit. And that happens because Arne Slot likes to play with a small side. I think he only has, or he picks 13 or 14 players and he rotates between them. So the rotation mostly comes in the forward lineup and not in the midfield, not in the defense. So I just hope that we do get some kind of cover for McAllister and Gravenberch. Yeah, anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, so just a question, Adeem. I know, of course, Ryan Gravenberch wasn't bought by Liverpool to play as a number six, right? So he was bought to play as an eight. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was the plan initially, and then all of it has changed completely because now we've got Dominic Szoboszlai, doing so much work in midfield, right? I don't know what his position was initially also because he's a central attacking midfielder. Now he does the work of two men in that midfield. He runs his socks off. So plans change, and I'm glad Slot is here because he's
Yeah.
the one who's able to do this. So he's made our defending better. He's made our midfield control, but we control games better.
So I think just to kind of round out the point, I like that you brought Slot into the discussions because that's what I wanted to tie it together, right? Of course, Ryan Gravenberch has had an incredible season playing in a position that's unfamiliar and playing like a seasoned professional, right? I remember how, we were complaining and you were crying about the fact that you didn't have a number six, but Ryan Gravenberch has gone above and beyond any number six that you could have bought, right?
Right.
But to give Schlott credit, right, he realized that here's this guy who has the attributes, incredible, press resistance on the ball, right? Somebody who is so good at, winning these duels, like the numbers that you just called out, and he also has the physical attributes, right? We've talked about this earlier. He's a tall guy, 6'3", so he can win duels, he can win headers, he can cover a lot of ground quickly, right? Very similar to Fabinho, right? That goes to show that Slot is, incredible at identifying these hidden gems and value, right? Value in players that other people might kind of miss. Other people might want, a specific square peg for a square hole, but here is Slot who can see that this guy has all the attributes that you need to play a six and empowers him to put in, a performance that wins you a title.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there have been a lot of firsts that have happened with us winning this title. So Van Dijk is the first Dutch captain to lift the Premier League title. No one's done that. And Slot is also the first Dutch manager to win the Premier League title. I think we got the right Baldy. We were talking about the Battle of the Baldies. We got the
That's,
right,
I think all of the other Baldies have been trounced.
yeah.
Oh
So
my
we got the
gosh.
right Baldy in, and it's great that that's happening. And there was this really, really touching moment in the post-match celebrations last on Sunday, where Slot got the mic and he wanted to pay homage to Jurgen Klopp, and he sang the Slot song by saying Jurgen Klopp, la 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 la. This is just so organic and crazy. Is that you can't imagine this happening at any other club apart from Liverpool. So Klopp, in his farewell speech, decided to lay the foundations and ask the fans to back Slot by singing his name, which a manager wouldn't do. I don't think any manager would do that. But Klopp loves Liverpool, and he understood that we have to give Slot time and give him space and give him the support. Slot also did not need to do this for Klopp. I mean, why? But he did it. It just shows this connect that the coaches have with Liverpool, the way we are. It's bigger than any other club winning the Premier League title and all. And I also wanted to talk about Klopp and Schmatke. So Klopp obviously laid the foundations for Slot, but Jorge Schmatke, our 3 month sporting director that we had last year, and how much credit he deserves for getting Dominic Szoboszlai, Wataru Endo, Gravenberch, and Alexis McAllister. Because this McAllister, he's gone under the radar. While we're talking about Van Dijk, we talk about Allison, we talk about Salah, and now Gravenberch. McAllister has been ticking in that midfield for so long, and it is insane that we got him for just 35 million pounds. He had that, obviously, he had a release clause, but I cannot believe no other club went in for him. We were making fun of Smartcase saying that every player he bought had a release clause, but then doing the due diligence and getting
That's the
McAllister in,
smart thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
getting McAllister in, and now Szoboszlai and Gravenberch, it seems like great business. We completely revamped our midfield, and it, it just clicks into place. It seems that McAllister seems like that perfect, and he had this amazing message. I think today is what he posted about how winning the Premier League feels great for this city and this club, and he's a World Cup champion, and he's saying he loves his football at Liverpool. So I don't know. This is just great all around.
So yeah, a couple of things, right? The release clause thing, right? I think that's amazing, and that's something your club has done again and again, right? Your club, I think, is only number 8 in the net spend in the Premier League in the last 5 years, right? Being so far down that list and still performing like your club does, you guys are amazing at finding these bargain deals, right? McAllister as a number eight, he scores goals, he assists, he wins duels, he runs. What else do you want, right? I mean, you don't really don't want anything. And if there's somebody out there who's undervalued in the market, right? And the transfer market is notorious for being extremely inefficient. People going and overpaying for every star you can imagine, Chelsea being the major culprits of that. You have Liverpool, a well-run club, right? The other thing I wanted to talk about is when you said no other manager would sing or ask the crowd to back their successor. Sir Alex did for David
Oh.
Moyes all those years back. It didn't quite work out, but for you guys, it worked out perfectly, right? And to me, Slot actually singing Klopp's name also makes sense, right? Because he's an honest man. He acknowledges all the work that Klopp has done over the last, decade to put together this team. Because you don't forget, right? Salah is a Klopp, player. Van Dijk, Allison, all these guys were basically nurtured by Klopp, right? So Klopp definitely deserves the plaudits for this as well. And it's amazing to see, something that good happening to a well-run club. There's no question about it. Okay. With that, Adim, I'd like to talk about, your management structure as well. This is a point that I personally put in there because I basically am a huge fan of Michael Edwards and now Richard Hughes as well. What do you think about them, right? Because it's not just the fact that they came back and appointed Slot, right? Michael Edwards has been at the club for, at the helm of the club for the last decade as well, right? So a lot of the work that we were attributing to Klopp can also be attributed to him. And personally, and I've said this again and again, I have immense faith in his decision making, right? He makes the right common sense decision backed by data and evidence. And, it's not like you can't go wrong, but that's going to be a very rare occurrence. So I think Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes obviously also, are a factor in your championship. What do you think?
So a couple of things here. I was having the same discussion in the Liverpool group, I think, yesterday or today. And it can't be luck. So luck can only work so far for you in football or any other sport. Winning the Premier League in 2019, sure, you could say maybe there was a bit of luck involved. Winning it again with Arne Slot, no new signings, that's not luck. So these guys
No.
do the due diligence. They got the right man in at the right club at the right time. They did it with Klopp. They've now done it with Slot. We must understand Klopp leaving Liverpool is seismic or was seismic. It's like, as you said, Alex Ferguson leaving Manchester United, and you see where they are. Arsene Wenger leaving Arsenal, and you see where they are. I mean, they're still now they're a little better, but with Unai Emery coming in, it wasn't clicking and all. So everybody, and let's be honest, every Liverpool fan expected a drop off. Nobody expected us to be champions. If anybody says that they expected us to be champions, they'd be lying or it was a joke. So that's one thing. The other thing I wanted to talk about is Richard Hughes, and this was another joke. Like, what has he done since he's come here? Like, we haven't signed anyone apart from KSR and Mamadashvili, and he did finally. Now, so this is the point. Even after not signing anybody, we are Premier League champions. We had a brilliant run in the Champions League, although we lost to a very good PSG side, and we were in the final of the Carabao Cup. So our team had the potential to do really well, and we did. And this actually plays in favor of Richard Hughes because then he'll come out and say, "Look, I didn't need to do or bring anybody else in because A, we were seeing what this side is capable of. B, we knew what Slot can do." And he's come out, and there are multiple reports coming out and saying that now Slot will be back in the summer where Liverpool will be given a huge transfer kitty. We've heard this time and time again, and we'll see what pleasure he wants. So Richard Hughes actually does deserve some credit because he did get Salah and Van Dijk's deals done, and we had said that these are the two more important players to keep at the club. Although it does help, and it did help that both wanted to remain at Liverpool. So the jury, I will say, is still out on Richard Hughes. Edwards obviously doesn't have to prove anything anymore because he did great with us in his previous stint, and now he has another Premier League title under his belt. So I'm still a little bit, 50-50 on Hughes and his impact.
So, a couple of things, right? Any Liverpool fan who thinks it's luck or anybody who says it's luck, right? And I've recommended this book before, they should go and
Yeah.
read the book How to Win the Premier League by Jan Graham. You'll know what level of detail and how much work, how much data analysis, how much scouting, how much video analysis goes into each Liverpool decision. It is not luck. The second thing is the Richard Hughes thing is interesting, right? Because sometimes, doing nothing is better than, buying a player that's overpriced, that comes in, that messes up your dynamics in the dressing room, that messes up your system, right? So we'll see. You're correct in terms of him actually buying and scouting players. The jury is still out, but I think his track record at Bournemouth is something to be, reckoned with as well, because he did a really good job at Bournemouth before coming out here. So I think you guys are in good hands, and these guys definitely deserve some credit. Couple of things. Maybe we should end, right? I wanted to talk about your next match, which is I think at Chelsea, right? So Chelsea has to give you the guard of honor, and we talked about this in the previous episode. I think it's perfect, right? Chelsea, a club that's very mismanaged, run very, illogically. Most of the times, the manager, always crying about the fans, or a specific profile of a player for a specific position, without which his entire team falls apart. And here you have Slot, who's not spent any money, who has, unearthed players and moved things around, been creative with his entire squad. He's coming to Chelsea, and Chelsea have to give you guys the guard of honor. There's nothing more poetic than that. If the poetic justice actually does exist. You were going to say something about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there was this one game that I wanted to talk about. So this is the first game that we will play after being champions, right? And this happened last time also. So there is actually chance for Chelsea to get a win. So Liverpool became champions, and then the next game that they played, they were battered. I can't remember what the score was. It was an away game, and we lost, right? And there's this clip. I don't know if it's from that game or not. And it seems like half of the Liverpool team were drunk. The only
Yes.
players who weren't drunk were Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah, because they're Muslim and obviously they don't consume alcohol. So there is a very good chance.
Yeah.
And we've
Yeah, I
already,
hope they do.
yeah, and
I
we've
hope they
already
party
seen,
hard.
yeah, we've already seen images of Allison having a huge barbecue session at his home. We've seen McAllister share a bottle of alcohol that I'm sure he's going to consume in a day or two. So it's going to be a hilarious
Oh
game
man.
against Chelsea.
Yeah.
But yeah, God of Honor and all is interesting. And uh, I think this perfectly ends this segment also, because at the start of the season, we spoke about both the clubs getting new managers in with their own thoughts, processes, and setting up systems. And for the first month, it seemed like both clubs would be doing really well. Liverpool were there at the top. I think Chelsea were our nearest competitors. They were second. And we've seen gradually the gulf, I wouldn't say in, well, maybe in managerial ability. I know it's difficult to say that, but I just feel that,
Yeah.
Enzo Maresca has lost something. And we spoke about this. We said that, maybe that Mauricio Pochettino flavor is wearing off and he's become a little bit more defensive and he wants to keep the ball and all. But if you've seen Slot, he's become better and better with his game management and he's continued growing. So I think it just shows that, how important it is to get the right man in. The other Baldy won again. So this was another battle of the Baldies.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how we do in the next four games, because I'm pretty sure we're gonna not win even one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you guys party hard. I hope you guys, keep drinking till the night before the game against Chelsea, so that we win. And just one kind of thing, as a Chelsea fan, I feel bad putting all the blame on Maresca, because some of the blame definitely lies on the sporting directors, right? Maresca hasn't done a stellar job. He's done an okay job, but his team also is extremely inexperienced, right? We don't have leaders like you guys do. We don't have your Van Dijks, your Allisons, your Mo Salahs to pull us through a difficult situation, right? So that's the only thing. Fans giving you guys blue flares thing.
So this is hilarious, right? So some fans actually spend time putting red this thing, like the red label on blue flares, and
Flares,
some of the blue
yeah.
flares actually went off also.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. That's
I
always
think,
funny banter in the Premier League, right? I think that's the closest Liverpool, Everton fans will come to being part of a Premier League celebration. So that's their thing, but it's fun. It's funny regardless.
yeah,
I
that
think,
is good.
yeah.
And they had a trophy win, right? You can't forget the 2-2 draw that they had. So that's like a trophy win. It's like their biggest result, and they thought they're
Yep.
gonna stop us from winning the league, but it is
Yep.
what it is. So yeah.
Okay, I think, yeah, that basically closes out today's episode. We'll come back next week. Obviously, Chelsea and Liverpool play. It's pretty inconsequential for Liverpool, but it has a lot of consequence for Chelsea. So we'll see how that game pans out. And then, as usual, thank you for watching and listening to our podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. Let us know what your top five reasons are for Liverpool being champions, right? We'd love to talk to you guys in the comment section. And with that, have a great day, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.